The idea was with this machine is to take it to the very apogee of air-cooled development and to present a 911 unlike the world has ever seen before, hopefully, and something that will be a line in the sand to how spectacular an analog, normally aspirated air-cooled 911 can be.
Now look here, I'm an unbiased reviewer of cars, but I can't say I'm entirely unbiased here because I'm part of the Singer family. I was involved in the development of this car and I'm really, really proud to say that. But one of the upsides to being part of the family is you get access to the murky rooms where they make the thing. We're incredibly proud of this facility. It's in the UK. It's frankly remarkable. That huge rig behind there is where all the carbon bits are basically applied to the body shell. They're bonded in place, and afterwards, this process here, they are scanned to just make sure they are within whatever tolerance they decided to be in terms of accuracy. This thing it's like a very expensive racing car. Move through here and you'll see a bit more. Basic shell, half of it done. That's bare carbon, that one. Extraordinary attention to detail in the Rob Dickinson philosophy. And at that point, yeah, click of the thumb. We're going to black and white because we don't want to show anyone's car that doesn't want their car shown. So from now on, yeah, we're in a black and white world, just for a bit, okay, just for a bit, bear with me. Now we've got a painted shell. You've seen that bare carbon one in there, but that would normally just be bare metal, so that's now a painted shell. And now the good stuff begins. All of the oily bits and the bits that make it go fast are being bolted in. I know people get a bit triggered by us taking 964s and turning them into something else, but they're high mileage cars, and look what we turned them into. They're stunning. I'm biased. I think it's the most beautiful 911 shape I've ever seen. And when you have a look underneath and around the car, the quality is extraordinary. And this room is full of really talented people pouring love and expertise into these cars. And they're making a few. Look, there's a lot being built at the moment. The quality is difficult to describe, but there you go. Single wheel nut. Look at that. That is taken from one single piece of metal. It's just stunning. And like everything in this room, it's important because, as Rob Dickinson has on every single wall of every single building, everything is important. And at that point, we'll come back to colour. This car here is called Unico. This one is significant to the business, and therefore its name has been given to this building. This is Unico the building, Unico the car. I like talking about cars, but frankly, I prefer driving them. So let's go and drive Unico. So we first defined what would become the DLS back in 2015, a long time ago. And the process was fascinating. This idea of what the ultimate lightweight, old school 911 could and would be was at the forefront of a whole load of our minds. That's myself and Marino Franchitti and Mason Farwas, and of course Rob Dickinson, who's going to make it look the way it does. But I have one other thing in mind, and that was the road that I'd want to drive it down. And I'm finally here. It's an innocuous road, I'll tell you what it is. It's the B4518. It's a little B road in Wales. But it just snakes its way through some beautiful, just south of Snowdonia countryside. And it's full of little cambers and crests. It's not an especially fast road. But it's what I always imagined I wanted the DLS to shine, and I'm here now, so not many people are afforded these kind of golden moments. I'm going to enjoy it. Maybe shut up for a minute. You know what? It's never been I've driven here before, but it's like it was set up to be down this road. Just so agile, so small, wide at the hips, but it's not all about speed, it's about how I feel. It's every time I change gear and dip the throttle, those intakes just make this wah noise. Yeah. Welcome home, DLS, to the home you never knew you had. But this is where you were supposed to be driven. The powertrain, I can't really describe how perfect it is. The intake noise just bang on. It just gets inside your head. This car's fitted with the optional hi-fi system, which has got focal speakers and everything else, but I don't know why you turn it on. And there's something about the control weights, the throttle. It's like you're controlling a musical instrument. I love the way you just play, push a bit harder, get the intake noise, and then you dip the clutch, which has just got such resistance, and that gear shift. Wow. I know this is like marking my own bloody exam paper because I was part of it, but I told you this wasn't objective. I want to just share the car with you. I think it's brilliant. It's not perfect, of course it's not perfect. It's an old 911 with trailing arm suspension. But we deliberately went for that feel. We want this old style 911 feel, and God, we nailed it. We nailed it, boys and girls. Car running quite soft suspension, this particular one, so I've got loads of traction. Listen to that. That engine is just off the dial. It's got the best Bosch ABS electronic suite, so all the traction control and stability from Bosch. In the sport mode, you can really just smash the throttle and let it sort itself out for you. Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2. Great tyre. Wow, what a thing. And this steering, very quick, very direct. The whole package stand out for me. But even when you're admiring the way the damping works, those XDC dampers, and the way it looks, it comes back to the powertrain. This is an engine wrapped in amazing components and clothes, but the engine is at the heart of the action, because that noise is just wow. God, it pulls. How fast? Well, I'm not going to figure this car, but it has to be quite a bit beyond a GT3 Touring. Power to weight ratio doesn't lie. It weighs an awful lot less than a GT3, and it's got the same power. Brakes are carbon ceramic all round. There's no lack of braking power here. I'm just okay. I'm gonna shut up and drive, as they say. Sensational on road, but as we all know, just too fast, really, to be used on the road. So think, take a break from the B4518. I'm going to nip south, go to a little circuit, again Welsh, so we can let this thing move around. I can tell you a bit more about what it's like when you poke it with the naughty stick.
We'd like to ask for a moment of your time.
should be familiar with this car because I spent quite a bit of time driving the development vehicles. But I've been away from it for a bit. You get back in it and you just forget how extreme it is. First of all, I'm sitting in a speaker cabinet really. There's a musical instrument behind me and this is the box that houses the speakers. So it's loud and it's intimidating. It's everything we wanted it to be. This was not supposed to be a GT car, it's an out-and-out sports car. Throttle response is absurd, and this engine, the way it revs, there's a total lack of inertia, but the revs drop very, very quickly. You just touch the throttle and it sings. The air intakes behind us, say us, Neil's sitting there recording sound, grinning the whole time. The air intakes are GT4RS style, they're right behind us, so the intake noise is, well, I'm not sure I've ever heard a better noise in a car. I don't know how, I could try and find all sorts of extreme adjectives and hyperbolic phrases, but the reality is it has to be in the top 3 best sounding cars ever made. And the other one of those must be a McLaren F1. I don't know what the third one is. It's just mind-bending, and it just revs and revs and revs. I mean, it's going to 9, but as it's going to 9, it feels like it wants to go straight to 10. It's so smooth at the top end. Let's have a little drive there. And I love, watch this, how short the gear shift is. Very little throw on the gear lever. Heel and toe is really easy to get just right. It's a car that when you get in the zone, everything seems to just come together. Feels fantastically connected. Every time I do that, I grin. Can't believe how good it sounds. There's a standard spring and damper setup for the car. There's a lot of adjustment on the damper. This is a privately owned car and it's set up for the road. So it's on the circuit here. It's beautiful over the bumps, but when you get back on the throttle, the car takes a lovely set where the back of the car just starts to squat down like an old style Porsche. It's really, really lovely. Grip, I'll tell you what, I remember the last time I drove it, I don't know whether Mitchell had been doing some work, but this has got serious amounts of grip. Traction is not a problem at all on a dry day. You come out, second gear, just open it wide. So we've got a very, very light, mostly carbon fibre thing that's over 500 horsepower behind us. It's not a car that really wants to be sitting around with that massive rear tyre, but I think for the benefit of the video, you want to see it move, don't you? So I'll see if I can pull a couple of skids for you. I think to get it going, we'll just give it a prod, see what happens. Yeah, okay, that's just magnificent. Feels really, really good. It wants to go to the lock stops, it wants a big slide, not a little slide. When it comes back, that slightly softer rear end, because this is very much a road setup, does mean the car, you feel that sort of yaw movement when it wants to come back, but wow! What the hell did we create? It's freaking outrageous. It's more of a road car than a track car. It's still brilliant on track, but I think you'll agree, it's also a piece of art. It's an object that you're supposed to just drink in. Everywhere you look, there's something else that draws your eye in and you want to ask a question as to why that was the case. So let's park it up and have a really good snoop around. And it really is a piece of jewellery. I know I'm biased because I love the way 911s look, but this, the idea of an old style 911 updated, but this has got massive arches, huge presence, it's slammed onto the deck, and the details on it, well, they are out of this world. Let's have a look round. So there were three main problems at the outset with DLS. First of all was the idea of having a chassis that could handle this crazy power to weight ratio. The second was the aerodynamics of the vehicle, which needed to be much, much more sophisticated than any 911 that looks like it comes from the 70s. And the third was cooling that crazy 4 valves per cylinder air-cooled engine. Let's start with the first bit, which is the chassis. So the body shell, as you can imagine, starts off as a 964. That's the spine running down the underside of the car. The rest of it is just carbon everywhere. It's so much stronger and lighter. The front suspension design is completely different. The rear is still trailing arms. Dampers by XTC, who have won, I think, 9 World Rally Championships. Everything's about aero management. So everything here is functional. It was all CAD designed because when we put a 911 through Williams's aerodynamics package, it showed that it was basically an aeroplane. You got to a certain speed, it would take off. So everything you see on DLS is about keeping it on the ground, okay? So at the front, good size splitter, cooling pack as well, massive oil cooler under there because it's got the oil pipes running down the sides. The rest is just for beauty. So all of this is detail and beauty. All of this is cooling for brakes and for the motor. Come down the side. Beautiful magnesium BBS single piece Fuchs lookalike wheel with a centre lock. I mean, it's art, isn't it? It's the most stunning looking wheel for me. I love dished wheels. They don't do them anymore because they don't like curb strikes. But for me, a great big dish, and we think the front's good. Wait till you get to the back. All the surfaces were basically put through the computer, the CAD computer, to make sure that we had zero lift. Does this produce downforce? Little bit, but the main thing is to produce zero lift. This thing had a lot of lift at the front axle and at the back axle. Look at the roof. So, one of the things that came out of the study was that there was a vast amount of turbulence back here to the point where the ducktail wasn't doing an awful lot. So a 2.7 RS, even though Porsche said it sort of reduced lift, I'm not sure it did. Air comes down through aperture, comes through the screen now. It's a really subtle line actually. Until you concentrate on it, you don't realise how wild it looks. Now the spoiler's doing something. The diffuser is everything for reducing lift at the back of a car. We all know that. Hence the reason why all modern supercars and hypercars have massive diffusers. There is no room underneath that engine. It's right to the back, so you can't hollow anything out of a boot. You've just got engine there and exhaust box. But we have managed to get a bit of a diffuser down there, which really, really helps. Net result, at very, very high speeds, it doesn't want to take off, which is helpful. This car had to sound like one of the best vehicles ever made, and it does because of the intakes here. You've probably seen them more recently on Porsche's GT4 RS, but DLS had them first. So they go back to a central plenum here, great big carbon resonator box, like a speaker box, then down into the motor. It sounds fantastic. If ever you're lucky enough to be in one, I think you'll rate it like I do as one of the best car sounds ever. They also have a cooling capacity because this car has the world's first ever air-cooled 4-valve flat 6. Sounds utterly geeky, but we're very, very proud of that because we set out really to do exactly what Porsche hadn't done in the 70s. Porsche around 73, 74 was looking at this design of engine to get more power from the flat 6, and it proves to be so complicated and expensive they went down the turbocharging route, hence the 911 Turbo. But we thought, hell, let's do it, because there must be the materials available now. Cooling is the issue. You can imagine you've got this head, 2 heads down the side of the engine there, and right up against the bodywork, there's not much air. Also, in terms of the heads themselves, there's so many valves and so much stuff moving around creating heat, there isn't much bare metal. So cooling this engine has been a labour of love. John the Engine Man will happily let me celebrate him and say he's an absolute friggin' genius, because this is sensational and it doesn't overheat because it's got fans. It's the ultimate expression of the air-cooled 911. The interior, well, you can draw your own conclusions really. The basic shapes are unmistakably Porsche, but every surface, every individual component has been tweaked and had love poured into it. The seat shells are by Recaro, the wheel is by Momo. The rest is just pure Singer porn. The pedal box is too good to kick with trainers really, and it all centres around that gorgeous rev counter. So there it is. I think I really like it.